So let's raise the big questions now. Is the Uniform Civil Code an idea whose time has come? Or is the BJP using the Uniform Civil Code simply as an election ploy? Will the Uniform Civil Code influence Muslim votes and Muslim vote banks? Can Hindutva politics coexist with a prime ministerial Muslim outreach? Just some of the questions we'll ask. Joining me now will be Zakia Soman, women rights activist and co-founder of the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. A. Sarvanan is lawyer and DMK spokesperson. Flavia Agnes, women rights activist who's been writing and fighting extensively on the issue. And Sanju Verma, BJP spokesperson. Thank you all very much for joining me. Before I come to the politicians, I want to come to you, Zakia and Flavia, because you've spent a lifetime raising these issues. First to you, Zakia Soman. Do you believe Uniform Civil Code is an idea whose time has come, that Muslim communities, across communities, should look at laws which are gender-friendly in particular?
So Uniform Civil Code has always been about gender justice, but somehow the politics has always overtaken at the time of independence as well as now. But that does not take away from the fact that India's women, and particularly Muslim women, are denied legal rights in the absence of a codified Muslim family law. Because there is a reformed Hindu family laws. There are some 8 or 9 Hindu laws which are giving several rights to Hindu women. So I will just give one example, despite the fact that Hindu marriage was at one point of time considered Janam Janam Ka Bandhan, it is no more so once the Hindu Marriage Act was passed by the Parliament. Similarly, the age of marriage has also been set at 18 and 21. The bigamy is punishable by law. There is a provision of law for 495 where bigamy is punished. But all these benefits which were taken in the direction of gender justice, out of which Hindu women benefited and Christian women also benefited because they became entitled for divorce under the amendments made to the Indian Divorce Act in 2001. But Muslim women were systematically discriminated against and denied the protection of law to which they are entitled by the Constitution of India, to which they are entitled Quranically speaking also. Several of the affirmative provisions in the Quran, for instance consent, for instance right to meher, for instance share in property, these could not translate into reality because there are no laws backing these rights which have been granted in the Quran. So,
so you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying Muslim personal laws, which today in a way are used by certain extremist forces, or dare I say conservative forces, prevent Muslim women from getting the same rights that Hindu women have, which they got through the codification of the Hindu Code Bill. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
And you would argue for the same for Muslim women?
Yes, because Muslim women are also entitled to codified Muslim family laws.
Okay.
But that could not happen because of resistance from the conservatives and the kind of politics which played out.
But you're saying the time has come to end that resistance. Am I correct?
Yes, time has come for gender justice and gender equality and legal parity for Muslim women and for all gender diversities, which are part of our country.
Flavia Agnes, is it as simple as that? Because there are laws across communities which will have to be in a way revised, reviewed if we are to bring a uniform civil code. Is this some magic bullet that Prime Minister ne keh diya, tomorrow there will be a uniform civil code?
Absolutely, absolutely. And why now? Why the election mode campaign starts with a call for UCC? See the political motivation here. And the entire discourse was how Muslim women are deprived. Now how Hindu women are deprived is no mention at all. Yes, it is codified, but does it give justice? What about the Hindu undivided family property and the tax concession that is given to Hindus through it? Will the UCC abolish this? Will the UCC abolish all the privileges given to Hindu men? There is no question. The PM is silent on this. He is only talking about, Zakia is also talking about Muslim women have no right, Muslim women have no right. Triple talaq. Triple talaq is already criminalized. Triple talaq is already invalidated. Yes, you're whipping the same horse and say triple talaq is allowed. What more can
so
anybody do?
You're saying a uniform civil code debate, if it is to be rational, will also have to look at existing deprivations that Hindu women suffer in terms of property. It will have to look at gender disabilities that Muslim women suffer. It will have to be all-encompassing. It cannot target just one community. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And the entire PM's speech today was about Muslim women and how sad they are and how problematic they are. And Zakia is endorsing the same thing, saying that Muslim women are under deprivation.
Okay.
Nobody is denying that.
Okay.
Hindu women are under deprivation, Muslim women are under deprivation. Is the answer to it is a uniform civil code, or is it reform within personal law? That is my question.
What is your answer to that? What is your answer? You believe there should be reform within personal laws?
We have been demanding codification of Muslim family laws for now almost 20 years. But none of the so-called religious leadership or social leadership have at all responded. Even Flavia is only mentioning it now. So I'm saying that Muslim women have waited for their lifetime to have legal parity. Why, as citizens of India, they are also entitled to legal protection just the way the Hindu women and the Christian women are enjoying.
Okay.
So is it too much to ask for legal justice and legal parity?
Okay.
Even
so
after
the question,
70 years of India's independence?
I take your point, but Flavia Agnes, are you saying that I think we all agree every woman deserves today gender-friendly laws. Is your view, Flavia Agnes, that it can only happen through a uniform civil code?
My question, not my view. I'm questioning, is it only through a uniform civil code that we can get it? How did Christian women change their law? Very specifically, they changed the right of divorce of Christian women. Very specifically. Similarly, Hindu code bill has 4 different legislations. There was a lot of debate and finally it came through. Now, having the similar thing can happen with the Muslim community. The leadership,
yes, but it hasn't happened.
Like Zakia,
No, I take your point, but it hasn't happened. For 75 years, it hasn't happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. It has not happened. 2018, 21st Law Commission report brought out many lacunas for gender justice. That inequality within different personal laws, and it highlighted that. And it said that we don't need a UCC, but we need these reforms within personal laws. Now that, according to me, still stands.
Okay.
Now what is the rationale for bringing in UCC? It was not a political game here for election purposes. I'm not against reforming the Muslim code bill.
Let me stop you, because 3 times you've said this is a political game. And Sanju Verma, that's the question. The Prime Minister appears to be linking uniform civil code with the condition, he says, of Muslim women, especially backward caste Muslims. This is a Prime Minister who doesn't say a word when it comes to Bilkis Bano. In fact, the Gujarat government is accused of giving remission to her convicts. Then we don't hear the Prime Minister weeping for Muslim women. But now suddenly, 1 year to go for elections, you're in Madhya Pradesh, a poll-bound state, you're raising this to trigger off a national debate. Is this to trigger off a national debate? Or is this a pure election ploy, as his critics are claiming?
Rajdeep, I'm appalled that you have brought Bilkis Bano into this. The moment you mention Bilkis Bano, I would like to remind you, Rajdeep Sardesai, that you are the same person who has not said a word in the recent past about how Rahul Gandhi's esteemed father, Rajiv Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, overturned a historic judgment in 1985 pertaining to the Shah Bano case. And what did Rajiv Gandhi do? He brought in the Muslim Divorce Protection Act of 1986.
It was wrong. I said it. Sanju Verma, I was doing, Sanju Verma, we have all criticized the Shah Bano, we have all criticized Rajiv Gandhi on Shah Bano.
Stop talking over me.
No, you must correct yourself. You must correct yourself. I have very clearly criticized on more than one occasion in editorial comment the Prime Minister's stand on Shah Banu. Now go ahead.
Now let me tell you one thing.
Yes.
You keep tweeting about everything that is anti-government. You know, you have spoken about the Manipur files, and I will bring Manipur because you brought in Bilkis Bano. Rajdeep Sardesai becomes like the three monkeys, deaf, dumb and mute when it comes to the Bengal files where people are being butchered day in and day out, especially BJP Karyakartas. The Kolkata High Court and Supreme Court have come down heavily on Mamata Banerjee, saying law and order has taken a flying leap out of the window. Has Rajdeep Sardesai spoken even
Can we come back to Uniform Civil Code? Can we come back to Uniform Civil Code? What's your view? A simple question. Flavia Agnes says it's a political ploy. Most of us believe it's an idea whose time has come. Now you tell us.
Do not heckle. You are not the panelist, you are the anchor. Behave like an anchor. Thank you. Let me tell you, Rajdeep, that the Uniform Civil Code under Article 44 of the Constitution falls under the ambit of the directive principles of state policy.
Yes.
And I'm sure Flavia, Agnes and everybody else on this panel knows the directive principles of state policy have not got legal sanctity under the Constitution. That is precisely the reason that while Uniform Civil Code should have been a law, maybe yesterday you and me are still debating about it. But I want to say one very interesting thing. It was way back in 1985 for the first time when the Supreme Court and then the Chief Justice was Justice Y.V. Chandrachud, the father of the current Chief Justice, and he said this. I'm reading it out ad verbatim without adding my own full stops or commas. A common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to law which have conflicting ideologies. The Apex Court also said that it is a matter of great regret that Article 44 has remained a dead letter, and Justice Kuldeep Singh in Sarla Mudgal versus the Union of India in 1995 said it's time to ensure that UCC becomes a law and UCC does not remain consigned to the dustbin of history. And recently, Justice Suneet Kumar of the Allahabad High Court in 2021 said that personal laws run subservient to the Constitution. And I will remind Flavia a very interesting thing. There was the famous Molly Joseph versus the George Sebastian case in 1996, where the petitioner on behalf of these two said that divorce should be granted as per the church, and the Supreme Court said that only a divorce granted to the Christian couple by the courts in India will be valid and not a divorce granted by the church, and that judgment was upheld in 2017 when Justice Kehar was the Chief Justice, and he repeated the same thing, that personal laws remain subservient to the Constitution and Uniform Civil Code should be law without further delay.
Can I ask you therefore, Sanju Verma, can I therefore ask you a simple,
trivialize the issue.
Ma'am, no one is trivializing the issue. Ma'am, I want to ask you a straight question before I move on, and I want a short answer to this. You've been in power for 9 years. You are a majority government. You could have triggered this debate in the last 9 years inside Parliament. Now we've got 1 year to go, less than a year to go to the elections. We've come up with the Uniform Civil Code and a national debate. In 2018, the Law Commission made it very clear. Law Commission appointed by your government suggested that this was not the time they believed for a Uniform Civil Code. There were other ways in which you could ensure gender-friendly laws. No one denies that you need gender-friendly laws, that Muslim women need the same benefits that other women get. But could your government have not done this much earlier? Why now? Very quickly, ma'am.
Okay, very quickly I will say this. I am glad that you are holding the BJP to high standards of accountability. Yes, this could have been done much earlier, but please note that as recently as the 29th of March 2023, it was at the behest of the erstwhile Law Minister Kiren Rijiju, who had filed a petition through Tushar Mehta, the SG, in October 2022, that on 29th March 2023, the Supreme Court said it is not the domain of the court. This is the domain of the Parliament and the legislature, and if the legislature deems fit, then UCC should become a law, and I think that means that the debate will soon be over and this will be a law before we run into 2024.
You're saying you're important. You're telling me it will be a law before 2024, that Parliament will pass a law. Sanju Verma is claiming that this will become a law before 2024. Mr. Saravanan, you want to respond? You've just heard. In a way, Mr. Modi is trapping you, because if you oppose it, you will be seen as gender unfriendly. Therefore, is the opposition ready to have this debate on the Uniform Civil Code? Surely it's a debate whose time has come. I come from Goa, a state which has inherited the Uniform Civil Code in a way from Portuguese, and it's not harmed anyone. Why not at least have the debate? Why not trigger off the debate in Parliament?
Rajdeep, that is probably because Goa is not indicative of the diverse culture as that of India. So that is why Goan example cannot be fitted across the country.
No, why not? Goa has one minute. Goa has a large Christian minority population. Goa has a large Hindu population. We now have Muslims who live in Goa. I mean, are we saying that a uniform civil code will go against the diversity of India? Surely in the 21st century, all that we want is gender-friendly, gender-neutral laws.
Yes, absolutely. I'll come to that, Rajdeep. See, the problem is this. The Prime Minister is smarting from his disastrous press conference. Probably he acceded. Probably his constituents here wanted him to oppose whatever the question that has been put out in the White House. He said, we are protecting the minorities. Probably he wants to put a dog whistle. That dog whistle is this Uniform Civil Code. It is not possible. You clearly pointed out that the 2018 Law Commission's report, Mr. Chauhan said it is unnecessary. And he also stated what we need is only gender-neutral laws, gender-friendly laws. For a vast country like India, it is untested and we don't want it. Why would the union government go against the recommendations of the Law Commission? The Law Commission has been constituted specifically for this purpose. And let us leave other religions.
What do you fear? Sir, Mr. Saravanan, what is the fear? What is the fear if at all India has a uniform civil code tomorrow?
The fear is this. This is used as a political tool. We are having Article 25, which says you can practice, you can have your own religious ways to do what you want. This will be discrimination. This will run afoul of Article 14. See, Article 14 also means unequals should not be treated equally. See, even in Hindu culture, certain cultures allow consanguineous marriages. Certain cultures won't allow consanguineous marriages. So how are you going to reconcile all these things? Is that not such a huge exercise? Why do you want to do this now? You asked a very pertinent question. Why now? Why now? Because the union government is unable to defend itself on what it has done for the people of the country. They have not done anything. And now,
one minute,
just a minute, Rajdeep, let me complete this.
Yes.
The people of India...
No, Sanju Verma, don't intervene, please.
The people of India are smart enough to understand that gimmickry, this rhetoric is not going to work anymore. People will
You're calling it a gimmick. Just a minute. You made your point, sir. Mr. Saravanan, you made your point. Zakia Soman, you're seeing two sides of the debate. Do you fear that Muslim women once again get caught within this debate? Because it's become a shrill political debate, we don't recognize the importance of having gender-friendly laws. As you said, there are enough elements within the Muslim community who've resisted the codification of personal laws.
I think I fully agree with what you're saying, because the spirit is about gender justice and gender equality that has got completely lost in the politicization of this issue. And I also believe that all the political parties need to collaborate on this, because only an inclusive document can point towards the direction of gender justice for India's women. And the 30-day time period given by the Law Commission of India is highly insufficient. It calls for very elaborate deliberations and discussions. And I think it should not be seen, as an opposition versus BJP kind of an issue. Although I agree that this is being raised by the Prime Minister and by the BJP. It's part of their manifesto. It is being raised in the run-up to the 2024 election, which is doing no good, which is only doing...
So you're calling for the debate to be depoliticized in a way, would you therefore, Flavia, Agnes, at least agree that it's important to trigger off the debate? We can't sweep this issue under the carpet. There is a need sooner or later to resolve these issues without toxic politics.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree, and I agree with 2018 recommendations of the 21st Law Commission that every personal law we need to look at and we need to bring in reform. But the point I want to make
so
here...
who's going to bring the reforms? Parliament has to bring it, ma'am. Flavia, Agnes, who's going to bring the reforms? Who's going to bring the reform? Parliament will have to do it. There, Sanju Verma is right.
But first you have to discuss it. You cannot impose it on the people. First we have to discuss it and we have to have a code ready, draft ready. People have to respond to it point by point and then only can go ahead with the parliament. But here I want to make one point to Zakia and to the other lady who said about Christian personal law and court divorces, that Hindu law, you can have a marriage without going to court. You can have a divorce without going to court. All customary practices are validated under the Hindu Marriage Act. Now, if such concessions are given to Hindus, and we hail that Hindus have a perfect law, Hindus marry again, the statistics show more Hindus get married second time than Muslims. And in such a situation, what is the plight of that second woman? She has absolutely no right. She's called as a concubine. And this is a state in which we are living, where Hindus are being discriminated to such an extent. When we're discussing Muslim law and Muslim women's plight, we also need to discuss Hindu women and Hindu women's plight.
You make an important point which I want to take. You make a very important point that I take to Sanju Verma to conclude. Sanju Verma, are we ready? You see, the Prime Minister today linked it to Muslim women or the state of Muslim women. Are we ready to look at Hindu laws that are seen to be gender unfriendly? Flavia mentioned property laws. She mentions laws. We are going to have to look at across communities. Is there a need? There is a need for a debate. It can't just be rhetoric at a political rally. There needs to be top lawyers, top activists coming together and framing a law. Do you agree or not?
Rajdeep, that was a lengthy question. I will just say this to Flavia. Today we have the Indian Divorce Act of 1869. We have the Christian Marriage Act of 1872. We have the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936. We have the Hindu Succession Act of 1928. We have the Hindu Guardianship Act of 1956. We have the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. We have the Muslim Dissolution of Marriage Act 1939. What is the Modi government saying? We are going to codify all these personal laws because it is very difficult each time there is an issue pertaining to marriage, divorce, inheritance, succession, guardianship, for the courts to spend their time on deliberating on each case. And I will just end in 20 seconds by reading out what I feel is one of the most, consummate judgments given recently. It was by Justice Pratibha Singh in 2021 July. She is a judge of the Delhi High Court, and she said, in modern Indian society, which is gradually becoming homogeneous, the traditional barriers of religion, community and caste are slowly dissipating. Such a uniform civil code would be common to all and would enable uniform principles to be applied in matters of marriage, divorce and succession. This will reduce conflicts and contradictions within our society and help us to rise above personal laws, and will specially help our youth who don't need to be burdened by archaic personal laws. This is Justice Pratibha Singh, and I think she made sense wonderfully well by saying this is not about Hindus, not about Sikhs, not about Christians, certainly not about Asaduddin Owaisi.
Yes, so the point, exactly, ma'am, exactly, which is why the Prime Minister need not have only referred therefore to Muslims. Some would argue he should refer to all women, cutting across religions. It is about gender. It is about gender, it's not about religion. Okay. Okay, it should, because it should be gender neutral, as I said. Let me leave it there. I unfortunately cannot now talk over your voice. You will attack me then of haranguing you. Sarvanan, you want 20 seconds. Sarvanan, you want 20 seconds. Sanju Verma's voice down.
Yeah.
20 seconds only.
Yes, Rajdeep, first and foremost, the BJP should ensure that there is homogeneity within the Hindu culture, Hindu religion. There is so much of discrimination going on. They should bring in uniformity the way they treat all the Hindus.
Okay.
It is not, there is no equality of Hindus within the same Hindu culture. For example, everybody would have seen...
Sarvanan,
Yes.
now we will get into another debate. The debate...
You
made your point.
A classic example is the photograph in social media of the president...
Hindu laws are the most progressive.
Going and...
Saravanan, please educate yourself.
And we are seeing
Time out.
going into the same temple.
Time out. I wish we had more time. This will be a debate that will continue to sort of, in a way, polarize opinion. But this debate needs to be depoliticized and looked purely through a gender frame across communities, not necessarily just one community. That's the challenge, in a way, if UCC is an idea whose time has come.